5 symptoms of burnout. So we talk to founders, we talk to doctors, and what they tell us is there are 5 fairly common symptoms of a burnout. Brain fog, which is simply just going through your entire day and in a state of fog. You're not sure if you're coming or going, or if you're funding or releasing whatever. Disinterestedness, which is you're not feeling into it. You're just coming in, going through the motions of your work, but you're not putting your heart into it. A lot of times it's sleeplessness. What keeps you up at night is a great question to ask at the end of a journey. But in the middle of the journey, everything keeps you up at night, which means you're not getting the rest you need. You're not getting the clarity of thoughts you need, which often leads to anger issues, which is short-tempered. You're quick to temper. You're snapping at people, and it's not working out. And finally, you might be there yourself. I've talked for about 2 minutes. You have no idea what I'm talking about, because attention span deficiency, because the beginning of the sentence and the end of the sentences are so far apart, you've lost the thread. Those are all symptoms. But I'm going to ask you guys, how do these come up in meetings you've done or meetings you've been in where someone's in a brain fog, you can see it. How does it show up in the work meetings?
Yeah, from my experience, it's never a secret, right? It's so easy to see that someone is distracted. There's something going on. And a lot of times you sit down with that person, hey, is something going on in your personal life, right? Is it something that's just a point problem? And you can diagnose it, and you have to get in and try to help your team any way that you can there. But as time goes on and you start seeing the same pattern develop over a few different meetings, a couple different weeks, now you're starting to say, okay, this is a bigger problem. And at some point you really have to say, hey, you need to go and figure out a way to rejuvenate yourself, whether that's taking time off, whether that's finding Sandeep to go and cry on,
or swipe left in your app.
Or going, working out more, doing something, right, to help, re-energize. But it's never a secret, right? Yeah. It's an open secret. No one wants to talk about it, but it's really apparent when, someone's just not there like they were.
Yeah. No, I can tell you personally, I have been through all of these, and at the risk of admitting, I'm sleeplessness is a constant thing for me. And, you get up and say, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. You overload yourself. And then you get worried about not performing, because as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, as Ken said earlier, it's a lonely job. Nobody's there telling you anything. And you are essentially self-monitoring and self-governing. And that's where you kind of start to lose it. If you do too many things, you don't do any of them well.
Right,
and then you get worried about it.
Right. The other thing is that the whole team has to recognize the different needs of the different roles. So, for instance, some roles require focus, for a long extended period of time. Engineering, for example, right? You have to get the code done. You're going to sit there for 4 hours and just concentrate on getting this algorithm in place. In a sales role, you're bouncing around from call to call every 15 seconds. And then, just kind of realize, help your team, coach them that, when they're bringing something up to senior management, understand what role that senior manager is in, right? CEOs have 400 things that they need to process all at the same time. So don't come to them with a discussion that's going to require an hour-long, preface before you even get to the point, right? You have to boil things down so that you can help the other team member help you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the time, the relative time issue. When you're on a short leash, you want things to be boiled down, and when you're working on a long range thing like tech work, you got to have a slow, long arc. And those don't often work together unless you work at it. That's true.
One thing I'd like to mention here, Ken brought it up, is interesting about engineer versus sales guy. I think as a CEO, trying to do too much is a problem also, because most CEOs in the Silicon Valley are engineers or coders of some sort. They come from the tech side. The personality types for the two are very different. You know, engineers, for example, you sit long periods, you bang your head against this, code that you're not able to, a problem you're not able to solve. There's a bug, and it'll take time to solve, and you need a lot of period of quietness and undisturbed period, etc., etc. No other human interaction, as I call it. And your standard of excellence is not a single bug. So one bug is one too many. That's your engineering, ethos. Whereas on the sales side, as you said, every 15 seconds may be exaggeration, but every 1 hour you're on a different call.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you've done 8, 10, 20 calls, probably got this door slammed in your face every time. And if you get one in a week, I got a lead or I closed a deal, you're doing great. Yeah. So the ethos of the job is 1 in 100 is great.
Yeah, you got to win once.
Rate.
Yeah.
Whereas on the engineering side, 1 in 100 is supremely bad. Like, that's unacceptable. You need to hit 0 bugs. So I think a lot of CEOs try to, whether it's money saving or whatever the reason is, or their confidence in their own supreme abilities, they try to span these drastically different roles and find themselves falling between the two boats in the burnout / depressed state. And I'm good at nothing.
Right. Well, and I think on top of that point is, I've before becoming an entrepreneur, 15 years in the engineering world, and my education's engineering. So I lived in that focused environment for a long time. Right. And then my first startup, learning to grow and to adapt to the needs of the role, was a real process. And I think we have to allow that, right? We have to allow people to grow and learn on the job, because there's no school for this.
Yeah.
So that's a really important aspect of it, is just growing. And a lot of this is back to the Superman phenomenon thing is, first know thyself, right? And know where your weaknesses are. Know that you need to grow. Know that you need to become something more than you are, and know that you need to move away from other things, right? I no longer needed to be the coder guy, right? I needed to trust someone else to do that. And a lot of startups, a lot of founders, especially younger ones, get caught up in having to own everything. That's something that people have to grow out of.